Hey guys, I'm Crandus here. So today I know my channel mostly revolves around games, but today is a bit of a different video. I like to this is probably something more serious, I guess. I like to share and add various highlights of like the things I'm trying to do and new things I do, and then there's the rarity where I actually speak about public drama or various other things going on around the world, such as politics. I just came back from a vacation. I was being pretty disconnected from the world for a good 10 days, and I come back, and there's so much going on within YouTube here and the US, basically. Even while I was on a ship for 10 days out at sea with little to no connection, I was still bombarded with a lot of media regarding like Trump, Hillary Clinton, the US election, various other things, right? I'm gonna speak out now because it's just, well, one of the people I look up to is Casey Neistat. He asked all the big YouTubers to say something about politics and to have a backbone. I know I'm not very big on YouTube, I'm kind of small, but I have at least 5,000 of you, and that to me is already pretty big. So I'm still gonna speak out regardless anyways, even though I'm considered a small YouTuber. I'm speaking out now in comparison to what he said because while I look up to Casey Neistat, I don't fully agree with what he said in his video. I really don't believe he should be telling you guys who to vote for. But then again, it's like I'm not going to say vote for Trump either, and I'm not going to tell you to vote for Hillary as well. I want you guys to make your own decision. I'm here to offer an opinion and perspective. The worst thing you can do, if in my opinion, is to not vote, really. To not act on the choice that you're given at this crucial point in time. Really, it's world changing, basically. It affects practically the entire world. Everybody's watching this election around the entire globe. It all hinges down upon everybody within the country. So to not vote is really the worst thing you can do for your own future. I've heard the contrasting opinions. I've seen it enough in media. I don't really look into these things that much. I only take in what is presented to me, what I've seen just up front from media. I don't really dive deep into details or things or do full research into them, right? So my opinion is only subjected to what has been influenced by the media and what I try to pick out of that media. So while others say like, oh, a vote for Trump is not a vote for Hillary, or a vote for Hillary is a vote against Trump, your life isn't that binary. There is still independent parties. There's like two of them. I think it was like Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, Green Party and Libertarian. It's your choices aren't that binary. The biggest shocking thing is that the majority of the voters for either the Democrats or the Republicans right now are basically people probably ages 50 and plus. I guarantee you that. It's on that cruise ship. I actually asked a lot of elderly people because on cruises there are a lot of old people and they're not even US citizens, and I asked them what do you do? When you're old, you don't have time. You have lots of time to do whatever, basically. So they just obviously go vote. Whereas, I would say maybe a good 30-40% of the actual population probably doesn't go vote. You should actually go and vote for something. I don't care if it's a vote not for Hillary and a vote not for Trump is a vote to change. You're wanting massive change. So much change that it'll be completely unpredictable. It won't be anywhere near as toxic as what it is currently, because basically, if you vote for third party in this sense, you are basically going to revamp the whole system with everybody else who agreed upon you in this vote. Everything that all the media has portrayed, all this toxicity, all this emotional rampage of hatred that's emotionally charged, perpetuated by Trump, Hillary and her, scathing emails, lies, and all these things, they'll all have been not for those two parties if you all actually just bombard third party up to a seat or a president or a presidency, basically. And that is the biggest things that these two people will fear, is that if the majority of people who don't vote actually go vote and actually vote for a third party and bring it all the way to the top, they'll be really fucked. And everything that has been going on for the past 9 months, year, or whatever will have been for nothing for those guys. The media has been covering the wrong things. nothing's going to change for the media. They'll just be like, what the fuck is happening? And then the two candidates right now would just be in complete shock and be like, well, all that was for nothing, and we have to support this person because you want a peaceful democracy and a handful transition of power from one to the next. So otherwise, it's like you guys are going to be in civil unrest, and you guys might spark a civil war, and then you overthrow the government and go into anarchy. I'm sure that's what none of you want. So, those are your choices. It's not just the two. You have at least 3 or 4 choices. Look into them, make your own decision, and this video is I'm going to offer my perspectives between Trump and Hillary as well. I don't hear anything about the other 2 parties because obviously the media doesn't present it to me. There's no ammunition for the media to work with within those 2, and only smaller outlets talk about them. Possibly, I don't even know, because it's just non-existent within the public media. I'm not going to go into private media, which is more the things that you have to look on yourself and search up on Google, like DuckDuckGo, AltaVista, Yahoo, whatever, all these other different search engines just to figure those ones out. Well, in a previous video, I actually jokingly said, sort of jokingly said that, Trump is a megalomaniac. It was actually half joking and half serious, and he is a megalomaniac. So I'm going to take this in a more serious tone, obviously, this time around. He's definitely a megalomaniac. He's very egotistical. He's also a businessman. That's not a selling point to be a politician. Politicians supposed to write laws, legislations, things that are just supposed to basically keep order around. He's a businessman, he's also rich, and he's going to make sure that the taxes work in his favor. There's no way he's going to tax himself more once he reaches office if he becomes president. That's a pretty damning fact that I don't understand why a lot of people don't see. The only people I would see actually for Trump is people who are wealthy. They're in the millions. They make the millions. They make a lot of money every year, kind of thing. He's not gonna tax himself. His actual tax plan, I briefly looked into it. It really is that it will. So look at it like this: you have your low class here, you have your middle class, and then you have your upper class, and then you've got your extreme upper class. Extreme upper class would be the couple millions, people who make tons every year or whatever. Even if you get a mega tax, you'll still be well off. So if you tax less on the upper rich, and then you tax the same amount in the middle class and the low class, and it's just he basically wants to just flatline the tax across everybody, right? The rich will continuously stay rich and even more rich, and they'll probably profit off of middle and low and very low. Very, very much so, more so than what Hillary is suggesting. But this is just in terms of an objective plan status or whatever. So if you tax the rich more, yeah, that sucks for the rich. It's just I'd hate it too if I had a lot of money. But if I had a lot of money, I would vote for Trump, obviously, because he's going to protect my cash. But it doesn't help the economy. It actually strips your economy down and just kills it. Over a period of time, obviously. It doesn't happen overnight. None of this happens overnight. One thing a lot of people don't understand is that changes within your country of this kind of magnitude, generally it takes years for these things to change. Just even Obama, for instance, he's put in when you guys just had an economic downturn, you had a massive Great Depression, and then he goes into office. He's literally given the shit plate, and then he's got to put, seafood and great caviar on it again, kind of thing. It just is. You can't judge a person based on what they're given to work with. It's what they've done with what they've got to work with is what makes them have merit. My opinion upon this is that Trump has a double standard. He doesn't know how to lose. He's really if anything, if he ever loses anything, he would just call that it's a sham, it's a scam, it's fake, it's rigged, whatever. The guy doesn't know how to lose. And if he's winning, then he'll say it's all legit and whatever. It's a double standard. That is, in effect, the biggest definition of a double standard, and you're seeing it at the world stage. If this guy doesn't know how to take a loss, if he takes a loss, he doesn't know how to lose, he doesn't know how to learn from a loss, and he just runs off like a sore loser, basically. He really is a sore loser, because he never actually accepts what a loss is and doesn't know how to actually recuperate from it. That's his entire life. He's been handed to him, like, he's probably surrounded by favorable yes men, and he's been always been granted huge amounts of, like, capital and resource to work with. A lot of us don't have that opportunity. I'm pretty sure 90% of you watching, 99% of you watching, will never be in your lifetime be able to say, I lost $1 billion and then I was able to recuperate from that. You won't even get the first part of the sentence to be able to say that you got the loss $1 billion. That's insane. If I had $10,000, I could do so much with it. But this guy lost $1 billion. It's fucking insanity. 99% of us can't relate to that. Everything Trump says, he says, all his supporters say he means something else. It's a little crazy. His campaign runners say the same thing. He then goes into an open conference or a podium like days or weeks later and reaffirmates and adamantly, strongly suggests that he means what he says. And then in the news media that I see, like Fox, CNN, and NBC, whatever, any kind of channel that I'm just flipping and I just see it and I pay attention for a few minutes, they all say he means something else. I'm not sure which is more imbecilic or daftly stupid, the community or the person running himself, since it takes both to make it real. It's unbelievable. This man says something, but everybody around him says, oh, he means something else. You know, if he said, like, I'm gonna go kill someone, and then they're like, oh no, he means something else, and he actually go kill someone, what does that mean then? Oh, he actually didn't, it was just satire, guys, it was just a prank, bro. Like, what the fuck? I've never known, like, that you could get away with so much by saying the absolute truth and bullshit spewing out of your mouth, and then have people say, oh no, they mean something else. That's crazy. You're enabling a sociopath and a psychopath in that same sentence. I don't understand how that works. I figured people with actual common sense, I know common sense is a very rare trait, but still, it's like with some just basic logic. If your child told you, I want candy, they don't mean that they want food. They want candy. Okay, so how is this possible? The strangest part is, I wonder if anybody has ever tried swapping the positions of Trump and Hillary in different spots. If you put Hillary where Trump is and where Trump is where Hillary is, and they're both saying the same stuff, you guys would demonize and crucify Hillary so fast compared to Trump. Yet you guys let him pass for some odd reason. So it's no wonder the country is going downhill. He's a sexual predator, he's racist, he's a business and money man first for himself and his wealthy friends, rides on the backbones of smaller people and the middle class and under. And the man says media is against him as well, it's all like rigged and whatever. It's kind of obvious the media is against you is because you've given them so much ammunition and fuel to work with. If you aren't a piece of shit and you don't have anything bad to report upon, the media does not spin you that way. They can't make up shit unless they actually are given the fuel. If you're gonna go on a tweet rampage at 3 a.m. in the morning, lambasting like somebody 20 years back that was in a pageant that you ran, you're a little fucking crazy, and obviously the media is gonna make that. If I wanted to turn this channel into a news channel, it wouldn't be really hard to cover a massive compilation of the craziest shit that Trump has said. It wouldn't be hard. It'd be very easy. Okay, I've seen it so much of him, I can actually start imitating him. It's like, believe me, okay? Don't worry about this, like, believe me. It's really not hard for the media when you spoon feed the outlets that present who you are, when you shout at 10,000 decibels on a podium to the world what you are. It's really not hard for them to actually spin you in a negative light when you actually are the negative light. So don't get me wrong, I'm not a Trump supporter, and I'm not a Hillary supporter either, but it's just like, between the two, I'm definitely more aligned with Hillary, but at the same time, I would definitely consider a third option if there is one, and start looking hard at it and trying to convince everyone around me to go for it. Because Hillary, for instance, she comes to me as like a scheming witch. I'm not so sure how else to put it. Everything she says, I can maybe accept it, with 33% of it being truth and 66% of it being questionable, unknown, or lies. There's a serious lack of emotion with her. There were certain times while staring at the debate, I thought she seemed a bit maniacal about some things, but quickly suppressed it during the event, which I'm sure most don't see. I could be massively cynical and paranoid, but nonetheless, that is what I saw. This is my opinion, my perception, and perspective of it. there's a heavy amount of pride within her. It's within her, and one that does seem to exude care for American country. The other half of it, though, I'm not sure where it's invested. So that should be a worrying point for a lot of the people. There are actual emails of Clinton basically making sideline deals with other agencies. Them doing favors for each other isn't exactly surprising. If this is all a big shock to you, I'm rather surprised that any of you watch like television and reality shows where, you know, these ideas aren't spawned from nothing. It actually happens. There's a reason why, like, shows like, for instance, like take Blacklist, for example. The CIA and FBI in season 1 seem to have a lot of beef with one another, but they also work together, and then they also go like, there's always that case of like, this is my case, blah blah blah, you're out of my jurisdiction, get out of here, kind of thing. And then they also do, like, you know, they work together, and then they like, this is my classification, you can have access to this, you can have access to that. That's what I'm assuming what some of those emails are about. I'm assuming, okay? I'm not saying that's what all of it is. I'm sure there's a mass amount of negatives that can be found within those emails if you actually look through them. I didn't look through them. Again, I'm very on the surface of this and very shallow. I didn't dive deep into any of this. This is just what I'm seeing as the media, because I shouldn't. It's just like, this is nuts. They're both very shady characters, and it's just weird. I don't know how any of these people are at the top, but unbelievable. Trump isn't exactly forefront about anything either. He says he's realistic and he's upfront about shit, but I can tell you many things that he's not upfront about. I have a list here that I wrote down. It's right in front of me. You know, he says he hasn't shown his tax returns. One being, that's probably the most basic thing for any presidential candidate that's happened, like, you know, in all decades. Something that I'm suspicious of. I'm not alleging, I'm not making allegations. I'm suspicious that his wife could actually be an illegal immigrant. You know, after much pressing through a lot of media debates and whatever, he's claimed himself that he hasn't paid a penny in federal taxes. So if he absolves all tax, like say for instance he takes presidency, he absolves all tax and basically gives you all the strategy, the same thing that he did for himself. Who's gonna fund the government if there's no tax? I mean, that sounds great and everything, but at the same time, you need the government around. Otherwise, unless you guys prefer anarchy, which is adjacent to an apocalypse, anarchy is basically anybody runs a show, it's like basically massive survival of the fittest at the most cutthroat level possible. I'm not sure that's a good idea, and I'm not sure you like that, because afterwards you start becoming skeptical about everybody around you. That really instills a lot of fear-mongering and hatred towards one another. I'm not sure you want to live in a society such as that. Your country will just fall into a downhill place. People go to America to have their dreams fulfilled, not have them torn to shreds. From what I remember in terms of history lessons from when I was growing up in school. I will give Trump this one thing, though, is that he probably does understand tax laws better than most others. He's the one who's worked the system and probably that loophole the best, considering that's quite the feat to have, is to not pay taxes for, like, you know, 2 decades almost. No, yeah, 2 decades. And it's just, that's crazy. It's like he also rakes in millions and billions. So, again, I don't know which part is more genius, the fact that he was able to corrupt your system and actually, you know, basically hang off of it, whereas the rest of you suffer, or you know, the fact that he's making millions and going both ends. It's a bit like the movie of The Big Short. I don't know if you guys ever seen that. That was basically a documentary movie sort of about the whole housing bubble crisis in 2008 in the US. And it's like the few people who saw it coming and worked the system, they basically profited off of, like, basically everybody else. And I remember, like, what was it? Brad Pitt in that movie was, like, basically yelling at those 2 kids. He's like, don't fucking celebrate. Like, you just profited off of, like, the fail of America, basically. That's kind of the feel I'm getting here. So I, like, that's kind of how that's how I'm trying to relate to it. I can't relate at all, but that's the only connection I can try and drive a connection from. And that's as best as I can do. If you can explain it to me better in the comments, please do. He parades around saying that he makes billions and billions Yet, he doesn't, show his tax returns. So you have no idea where that comes from. That is the worst thing possible. He could be illegally flooding money through different channels. I have no idea. I don't exactly know why he's even allowed. For all you know, he says there's lots of drugs coming in from the drug cartels from Mexico or whatever. Maybe he's the one who's actually perpetuating it and using that as an excuse, and that's probably why he's not showing his tax returns. I don't know. I can spin crazy shit like him too, but I'm not going to do that. That was just an example. So, if you don't ask questions like that, then you won't know what's going on. The same goes with Hillary. She should be under the same kind of scrutiny. It's just that Trump gives himself and the community so much fuel to work with. It's hard not to lambast the guy, whereas Hillary, there's not much I can say shit about because I don't see enough shit about her. And she's not on Twitter rampaging like about everything. She's more reserved basically, whereas Trump is like an angsty teenager and a child. Okay guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. It's been pretty long already. I hate talking about this stuff. I get all triggered myself. It's just the fact that my biggest fear within this perspective is that out of all of this, if I remove myself and just look at the results of either end, if I look at Trump running a presidency, I can see a lot of people becoming poor really quick. If Hillary wins, you guys will just have kind of a status quo, but the fear about Hillary winning is that the Republican side, because they're so emotionally charged with hatred because of Trump's campaign, you guys might actually have civil unrest and have a civil war. Like, people will take up in arms and shoot the other side. That's an actual fear that I can see happening. I'm saying this now in hopes that it doesn't happen, and that this is like, maybe this tiny little voice can actually help maybe spread a bit of a message. I don't know. Look at different perspectives. Look at different information. You guys don't have two choices. You have more than two choices. It's not just Trump or Hillary. Definitely look at everything. Try and make the most based, accurate decision you can. I'm not going to tell you to vote for Hillary or vote for Trump. And like I said, I don't agree with Casey Neistat with what he said. I agree with the points he made, but I don't agree with him having a call to action telling you all to vote for Hillary. That's kind of wrong. You have the freedom. The whole point of a democracy is that you make the choice. To do nothing is basically you don't like that. You should go move. You're more for a different system. There could be communism, fascism, socialism, dictatorship. I'm sure you don't like any of those. So, act upon your vote. Don't sit there and be like, oh, I don't have time for it. It's probably 10-15 minutes of your day for a life-changing decision within the country you reside in. And just in closing arguments, the first two debates were really forgettable. It's like two children arguing. Chris Wallace was a really good moderator. I would feel that the last debate that just happened a day or two ago is worth watching. He actually asked questions that matter to the country and people, and he's not just there as a tabloid anchor or whatever, or just for Fox News or whatever. He's asking stuff that's something everybody should be asking both candidates at the top, and wondering what the fuck are they going to do for the country. Not all this emotionally charged bullshit about like sexual predator or like this other email crap. Look at the future. What the fuck are they going to do, and how are they going to run it, and are they going to instigate with another country or be diplomatic with another country? That is the biggest question you should be asking, because America is a world power. If you don't lead by example, someone else will, and your country will fall to shit. Oh, fucking unbelievable. I'm Canadian, for fuck's sakes. Alright guys, thanks so much for listening to my opinion. Again, I want you guys to make your own decisions. This is just my perspective. Don't take it out of context too much. If you guys want to offer your opinions as well, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Thank you so much for hearing me out. Again, I'm Canadian. Why do I care about this? Because it indirectly affects me as well. My country is the neighboring country to US. It does affect me, but I have no control over the results. This is why I'm making this video, in an attempt to just publicly express what I feel is going on. And to me, it's very worrying. The last time something that the U.S. indirectly affected me was in 2008. There was I actually had a career and job lined up, but it actually sunk because the economy tanked at that point. I got a interview or whatever, days later, saying they recanted it, saying we can't take you in. Everything's dropping right now. That company itself dissolved like a year or two later too, from the economic crash. I don't blame anybody. I don't blame anything. It's just that is what turned out to be the events. I would like to remove as much chance as possible from that happening, but I don't know where either result would display itself. It's just, again, this is my perspective. I'm trying to be as removed from it as possible in terms of opinion. That's extremely hard to do. Objectivity is always an extremely hard position to take. Again, I've already stated I'm more aligned towards Hillary. I'm not a Hillary supporter though. That does not the same things. It's just more that I agree more with her views, but I don't really fully support her either. Trump, I'm definitely not aligned with. I think the guy is crazy. He's unpredictable. It's very, very dangerous. You generally want to have a bit of a handle on who's running your country and the face of your country. You should really go vote. Doing nothing is terrible. And I know it's a really hard choice, so I hope you guys try and make some form of change within your country. It does affect a lot of other countries that surround the US. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye for now.